All right, tomorrow you do have a vocab quiz on 1 through 20. So tonight, if you didn't do all of your words 1 through 20, which is perfectly fine, I would finish your vocab all the way to 20 and make sure you're ready for tomorrow's vocab quiz. After seeing today's quiz, that's the format. I will have a definition, there'll be a blank. That's what it's going to look like every single time we do it. So tomorrow will be easier, Friday will be even easier, and imagine how easy it will be in week 30. Dream come true, okay? So, some of you went online and did your policies and procedures quiz. Raise your hand if you did. Perfect. Some of you had issues. Totally fine. I have gone in and made that quiz. You can take it 1,000 times if you want to. So if you made a mistake, like some people missed a question, skipped a question, whatever, I've gone through and changed it so you can take it as many times as you would like. Okay? Now, if you've taken it and may show you a score of 10 out of 12, it's because I need to go in and actually check, approve the photos, which I haven't done yet. Does that make sense? I haven't done it because I don't know how to. Why? Because keep in mind, I wasn't here last year, so a lot of the technology stuff, I don't know. I'm learning as we go, and I'm like so proud of myself that I made a digital quiz. Fine, you're not sharing my accomplishments? Fine. So, with that being said, I will be going through and checking. Remember, you have to the 20th, so everything is fine then. All right, today is your first lecture. Are we excited? Yes? Yay! I am so excited as well. I'm so glad we can be excited together. Now, every single week at the heading of your page, I would write week 1. And when we're in week 3, you should write week 3. So everything matches up to your scope and sequence. So when we get to the end of the year and we're doing our review, and you realize your lowest test of the year was from week 14, what notes should you reread? Week 14. And if your notebook is labeled, will it be easier to find those? Yes, it makes perfect logical sense. Also, I do want to point out, if you are ever absent on a AP World Day or my lecture goes too quickly for you, which you'll see here, we are going to move very quickly. If you go back to my Canvas, you will notice that yesterday I posted our first lecture in our module. You will see this week's video lectures, and I have yesterday's in there. I wouldn't go back and relive it, but today, if I go too fast for you, this lecture that you're currently sitting in is being recorded at this moment. So you can go back at any time, and it captures whatever's on my screen. It's not just my shining ray, gorgeous face. Okay? So here we go. That'll be posted every single day going forward. Here we go. So, friendly note, you are not going to be able to beat me by trying to write down everything I have on my slides. You're not, so don't. I will tell you exactly what you need. The PowerPoints are there so you can see spelling, you can see the images, you can see the connections. I will tell you exactly what you need to write down, and some of this stuff is done for me to remind myself to tell you something, okay? So the first thing you should be writing down is Paleolithic age. Paleolithic means pre-farming. I would write that down. You need to have Paleolithic, you need to know it is pre-farming. Does anyone know where the first humans came from? What part of the world did the first humans come from? What do you got?
East Africa.
East Africa. It was like the first 6 words of your text this week. Okay? So, Paleolithic age is pre-farming. These are the first humans walking around the earth. Big things that you need to know about them, okay, is that they are nomadic. You absolutely need to know that term, so write it down. Who can raise your hand and tell me what nomadic means? What does nomadic mean, Henry?
They didn't have a home, they moved from place to place.
Okay, they move from place to place, but I won't accept home. Why are they moving from place to place? Let's make sure we all understand that. Now, please listen. If you know the definition of nomadic, then you shouldn't have to write down too much more other than nomadic. Does that make sense? But if you don't understand something, you should be writing it down. Do not go through and copy down my whole list, because I'm not even going to cover some of those. Those are things for me. I will tell you exactly what to write down. Now, if something I say, hey, that's really important, and you don't know it, you should write down. Do we see how this works? Perfect. Nomadic. What are these people doing? That was kind of a spoiler alert right there. What do you got?
Aren't they following seasons so they can find food?
follow a season, because the season's coming whether you follow it, but they are following what?
Animals.
Yes, thank you so much for raising your hand, but yes, it's the animals, which are migrating because of the, there you go, see how it all makes connections. If you didn't know that, you should write that down. So the nomads are traveling, following food. So in the summer, do they go north or south? We're talking Europe, for instance.
South.
During the winter, they go south. During the north, during the winter, they head north if they're in Europe, obviously opposite if they're in Africa. So they're traveling around trying to find their food. They are hunter-gatherers, okay? So they're going around. If they're hunting and gathering, they're obviously not farming because this is Paleolithic age. They are also kinship groups. You need to put a box around the word kinship. What is a kinship group? If you put a box around something, it is so important that you will be using this term over and over again. What is a kinship group? Henry?
It's based on family.
Yes. Every single one of you is in a kinship group. Okay? Kinship groups are in charge of nomadic people. Kinship groups replace government. Okay? So in your house, your parents make the decision. In your house, who makes the decisions? Your mom or your dad? My mom makes all my family decisions, okay? That's a kind of a kinship. Now, back in these times, you're going to have your elders typically lead in your kinship groups and stuff like that, but it's all familial ties. So everyone in their group is related in some way, either by marriage, even though there's no such thing as marriage, because marriage is a government concept, but we'll get to that later. But they're either married or they have children or some sort of component that's a kinship group. They're all somehow tied to each other, okay? That's how they manage each other. There is no written history, it's only oral. How do we know about these Paleolithic civilizations? There's no written, how do we know? Yes?
Fossils.
To a degree, we do have some of their tools, for sure. We don't have a ton of fossils of like their bone structures. We do have a couple. I mean, your primary source is one. How do we know about them, Taylor? I love that you're jumping in, and I know I wasn't next to you during the quiz, and I'm sorry I abandoned you, and please don't think I don't care. Yes, Taylor?
Like stories.
Okay, some of the oral traditions may have continued, but not really, Cassidy.
Like drawings and like caves and stuff.
Thank you. Yes, it's your cave drawings. Raise your hand if you're in Ren's AP Art History. This is one of your first pieces. Have you talked about it yet? Okay, well, it's coming like any day. This is in France. Don't ask me what the name is because I don't know. Oh, there it is. See, now I'm going to try butchering it for you. It is in France. It is the largest collection of cave drawings in the world. And this is how we know about these early civilizations. We know that they existed, but we're getting that information from caves, and we're getting that information from some of their relics. All right. Neolithic is your next heading. So your Paleolithic, the only thing you need to know that it is pre-farming. You need to know it's based on kinship groups, okay? And they're nomadic, which means they're following food. Now we're in Neolithic, which means farming has begun. Agriculture is happening. So if agriculture is happening, James, what are people doing?
Farming.
Well, yes, you're not wrong. Are they moving or are they stagnant? They are staying. Does this make civilization more complicated or less complicated? More complicated. It is more complicated once you start staying. There's a lot of reasons for that. Okay, so soon as we start farming, civilization begins. Okay, first things first is the creation of government. Who can tell me why do we start government? Why? Think about it logically. What do you think, Andrew? Why do you think we have governments now all of a sudden?
Probably for protection.
No. Think about it. You knew Paleolithic. We went from Paleolithic to Neolithic. So explain the difference. Why did we make the progression? Matt?
Since it's more complicated, I'll need something to have structure.
Okay, you can't just say because it's more complicated, we need more structure. But why is it more complicated, Matt?
Because we have more food and...
No. You need to be specific in your language. If you don't write specifically and say specifically, you won't score points. You're not wrong, but you're not right. You're wordiness, but not there. What has changed? What do you got for me, Neil?
To manage the food.
No. What do you got for me, Ainsley?
More food, so more people, so needs more structure, more organization.
Guys, yes, you are getting there. You are the closest answer. You're not there. Paleolithic. What managed everything? Look at your notes. It's all right there. Yes.
There were more than just one
No.
family coming together?
Okay, yes, you got there. I was wondering where you're going. Yes. What is the term for that? We know the term, so say the term.
The kinship groups.
Kinship groups won't work. Why?
You need law.
Paleolithic, it's all kinship, and then we transition to government. Who can raise their hand and tell me why kinship groups no longer work? What do you got for me, Parker?
Isn't there a lot more land?
No.
There's more people on stage.
No. What do you got for me, Logan?
Because there's more like leaders.
No.
Like the kinship. I don't know.
No, you're gonna help me out. No. Oh, no. See, now I'm nervous. God damn it.
Fine.
I'm so sorry.
Because not everyone is related.
Huh?
Not everyone is related.
Yes, okay, thank you. Hello. In a city, are we all related? No, we are not. Okay? So, have you ever gone to someone's house and their parents started yelling at you and you're like, you're not my parent? And like, you just continue doing whatever you're doing, or you've seen people do that? Yes? Imagine having a city of that. You're not my kinship group. That would be chaos. So we had to have governments because people aren't related to each other. There's no familial ties. If you misbehave at a family barbecue, there's probably like 30 people who will kick your butt and your parents will say, well done, thank you for kicking my kid's butt. Yes? If you misbehave in front of your aunts and uncles, won't they kick your butt? Yeah? If you misbehave at a friend's house, will they kick your butt? No. That's why we need government. Okay? Because we're no longer in kinship groups. You have to be using the terms we are using and learning and applying it to the next situation. Okay, so kinship groups aren't working, so we have the creation of government to come in and put in rules. We also have a change in social structures. This is really important. With the creation of farming, we now have what social foundation that everything else is based on. We talked about it yesterday in class. What do you got?
Patriarchy.
Thank you. Patriarchy. Put a box around it. You need to know it. Okay? Patriarchy has now been started. Patriarchy means men are in control. And who can tell me, we talked about this yesterday, let's just be super quick. Why are men in control of society once we start farming? Scott?
They're stronger.
Okay, but you were stronger before, so put it in context. Explain it to me, Scott. You're not wrong, but you're not right.
They could do like more work on the farm.
There you go. Do you see how that's a better answer? Then they're stronger, right? That's a better answer. We need people to farm. If you're the one getting the food, you get to make the rules, yes? That's how patriarchy starts. You need to come up with complete, full thoughts, because if you're just saying things, it won't score. We practiced from day one. Here we go. Patriarchy is in place. Men are in charge because they're the ones doing the farming and leading the way. Women are devalued. We talked about it yesterday, but why are women devalued? What do you got, Jake?
It's a lot easier to have kids because there's more nutrients.
Perfect. There's more. So if there's more babies, the value of women goes down. If there's less babies, the value of women, just like diamonds. If diamonds were everywhere, would diamonds be valuable? No, there's very few diamonds, so the value of diamonds goes up. There you go. Okay, so you need to know about patriarchy that starts in the Neolithic Revolution. You need to know that diseases spread faster. Pandemics and epidemics of diseases is a huge theme we'll be studying throughout the whole year. Conveniently, we lived through one. Isn't that wonderful? So we have real life experience with it. Why are all of a sudden Paleolithic, no, at least massive epidemics or pandemics, all of a sudden now that we're in Neolithic, there's pandemics, in Neolithic pandemics, Paleolithic none. Why? What do you got for me, Taylor?
Everyone's mixing together and it's not just consumption.
Yes. Kinship groups. Do you think kinship groups are usually very big or very small?
Very small.
Why? You can raise your hand and explain logically why that makes perfect sense that they are small. Why, Virginia?
The women aren't having as many children because of the nutrients.
Okay, sort of. But keep in mind, there's kinship groups, governments that are still in place today in 2021. and they have plenty of food now, but they're still kinship-based governments. Kinship is going to come up every other week, if not every week. So, kinship groups. Why are they small rather than big? Why? Joseph?
Because they can't feed a lot of people, like from like hunting.
No, you're making it harder. Kinship groups are smaller. Why? Why? Sydney?
Because they're usually family.
Yeah, dude, how big is your family? Keep in mind, governments versus kinship group. Which one's going to be bigger? Government, okay, because they're managing. So kinship groups are typically pretty small because, I mean, how many people are you actually related to? Unless you're related to, like, what are they? The Duggars? Is that the one with the 30 kids or something? You don't know who the
There's a
Duggars are, the
lot.
TLC people? The wackadoodles? No? Okay, moving forward. Aren't they on TV still? Yeah, you people don't know. Anyway. All right, here we go. You also need to put in a nice box, specialized labor. So epidemics, you need to know that people are getting more diseases because more people are together from different backgrounds. That makes logical sense, yes? Okay, the reason why COVID-19 spread as fast as it does is because our cities, our civilization is completely mixed with air travel. Specialized labor. Specialized labor is going to change things. This is a term that'll come up over and over again. So, we are a civilization. We'll call us the Bennetts, okay? All of us are farmers. Okay, we all go out and toil in our fields and go home every single night. Is that really effective? No. Why isn't it effective if everyone goes farming? Why, Henry?
Because you need more jobs. Like you need someone to make clothes. You need someone to.
Yeah, and I don't know about you, but I think I would really suck at being a farmer. Because A, I don't like being dirty. B, that sun is not really for me. And C, I'd rather think smarter than work harder. You know what I mean? So farming isn't really for me. I bet I would make delicious wine, okay, because I'm really passionate about wine, and I'm pretty passionate about cheese, okay? So if all of y'all are going farming, and I sit at home and make bomb wine and cheese, when you come home from your farming, what are you going to want to eat? Yeah, so what are you going to do with all your veggies?
Trade.
Yeah, so who's eating, well, not corn, but who's eating beets and other fruits? And I don't know why beets is the first thing I think of, because that's not in my top 300 favorite foods. But I'm eating all these vegetables that you grew, and I don't have to stand in the field. Congratulations, that's specialization of labor. When you're living in cities, not everyone farms, okay? But they come up with things that are needed. So, if you are a farmer and you've been farming all day, you need chairs and tables. Do you think you're going to want to go play in your field and then come home and build tables? No. But if I know how to build tables and chairs, okay, I can say, hey, you give me a basket of your potatoes and I'll give you a chair and tables or whatever the cost is. It's pro-con. So all of a sudden, we start having artisans. You should write that down. Specialization of labor starts creating artisans and merchants. So, pre-farming, is there any such thing as artisans or merchants? No. Is there anyone doing one certain skill? No. Why? Because people had to go out and search for their own food and stuff. Once we have a surplus, if you don't know the term surplus, you need to write it down, S-U-R-P-L-U-S. Surplus is extra, and we refer to it as food. The Neolithic Revolution is all about surplus, okay? The more food we have, the more population, the more extra stuff we can sell. All right. So, specialization of labor begins, which is a huge component. We start having merchants and artisans, and all of those are able to flourish. So, with merchants, artisans, governments in place, we can now create an official civilization. Okay? It kind of looks like ours, yes? To a degree, very simplified. Your first civilization in the history of the world is your Sumerians. They're right there. You need to know that. You should, because it's like kind of like a pop thing. You just need to know, pop culture kind of thing. The Sumerians are the very first civilization. Does anyone know where they're located? Yes.
Fertile Crescent.
They're in the Fertile Crescent. If you don't know that term, you should. Okay? Does anyone know? See ya. Tomorrow you have a vocab quiz, 1 through 20. Have a great day. Woo! How was our first lecture?